Now, for those of you who have been in the audiophile game for quite some time, the Sony Mobile ES moniker is, nothing new. However, when they did come out with the new version of this for mobile, man, has it made a lot of noise since then. I'll tell you, with the brand new products that keep coming out in this lineup, it's a clear indicator that not only do dealers love it, but consumers are appreciating this equipment as well. And today we're going to dive into it with their product specialist, KRIS Bullha, on a couple new items and the whole system of how Sony Mobile ES comes together to provide that audiophile grade sound. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Sony Mobile ES. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and today we're talking Sony Mobile ES, a very special product line brought to you by one of the biggest manufacturers of consumer electronics in the world, Sony, of course. But this line is really special. Now, we've spent some time in the past looking at particular items, the Source unit, of course, the 9500, which is so popular. But today we're going to take a deeper dive and look at it as an overall package and an offering when it comes to serving that clientele that you may have that demands that higher end quality sound. Now, Chris, we've got a lot to talk about, but can you break down for us a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today?
Hey, Ben. Yes, this is a great opportunity to talk about how great some of our Mobile ES products are. I think they fit great into that audiophile kind of grade category. And provide a lot of options for some really high fidelity, sound upgrades in a vehicle. So yeah, let's dive into it.
All right, Chris, great to have you here. But first, we want to offer an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you dealers out there why you should love it. And when we come back, let's talk Sony Mobile ES with KRIS Bullha.
Hey guys, Ricky Lima here from SiriusXM. I had a chance to speak to some dealers and ask them what they love about selling SiriusXM. Here's what they had to say.
Coast-to-coast coverage.
I love SiriusXM for commercial-free music.
It's a great add-on sale and a profit opportunity.
We love selling SiriusXM because you can listen to the same channel coast to coast.
Profitability and ease of installation. It's a no-brainer.
We love selling SiriusXM for its ease of installation, great profitability, and reliability.
People love it.
Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the show. Of course, we've got KRIS Bullha here from Sony, and more specifically, the conversation today is Sony Mobile ES, a line dedicated to that higher-end listener that wants that premium product and experience. Well, I guess to understand the Sony Mobile ES story here, Chris, let's talk a little bit about heritage and pedigree, because let's face it, there are very few companies within our industry in car audio that could speak to this, especially when it comes to 60-plus years of being in this business.
Yeah, Ben, listen, it sounds kind of ludicrous to think about it, but 60 plus years of electronic design and kind of the application of giving those products to consumers to use in sometimes their everyday life, that brings a lot to the table when we're designing new products, right? So we take all that knowledge, all that expertise, and use that as one of those defining characteristics when we're putting new products in people's hands.
Having that background, having that history certainly, segues into my next important point that I want to dig into here. And what is the definition of Mobile ES? Like, what makes a Mobile ES product a Mobile ES product? And what are some of these definitions created by, your team when developing this product? What are some of those criteria that needed to be met?
Well, Ben, I think of all the questions you've ever asked me, that's probably the easiest one to answer. So Mobile ES means our mobile elevated standard. And the elevated standard is what drives all of our kind of priorities when we're designing the Mobile ES products. So the higher end components that go inside those products, the design theory about the installation, kind of making common sense on where to put connections, how to mount the amplifiers, how to mount the radios, all that good stuff. And then even just the control layout, making it consistent across every product that we have, every single amplifier that we have, all of the controls and filter settings and all that stuff is exactly the same layout. So you're not hunting around on a different side or the top or whatever it is, trying to find those things on another model in that same lineup. So kind of that thoughtful engineering, that thoughtful application, kind of that design experience really kind of brings everything home for Mobile ES.
And you bring up a great point, Chris. Mobile ES, as you said, is an elevated standard. And you talked about certain key things from different product ranges. And I think that's one of the first things we need to establish here is Mobile ES is a full range of product that could satisfy pretty much any situation. And I want you to talk about that a little bit because there are some offerings out there which are just a speaker or just an amp. When Sony went into building this, it was always meant to be a full offering, wasn't it?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, Sony's long been known as kind of the radio company, right? So everybody, I think, in their lifetime has used one of our Sony car radios at some point, and it's great. It's great to be known for that, for sure. We're very good at it, no problem there. But when we launched Mobile ES, the interesting way we launched it was with the speakers first, and part of that was strategic, right? We wanted to make sure people understood that this was not a new, kind of category for radios, right? Because everybody buys our radios. They're very well known in the industry. They're kind of the go-to for a lot of retailers. But the speakers, and then the subwoofers, and then the amplifiers, and then the source units came out. So that was kind of the order. And the reason we did that is we wanted people to understand that when you're talking about the audiophile grade level kind of upgrades and all of those things that you can add to a vehicle, we wanted to make sure that everybody knew we had every component in the system from the front to the back. And I think it's worked out pretty well for us. Some of our Mobile ES retailers are doing a lot of high-end full Mobile ES systems now. And in the past, it was hard to do that with Sony because we may have had a good head unit and maybe so-so amps, maybe that weren't competitive in some fronts, maybe good speakers, but maybe not a great head unit to go with it at the time. So now we've got the full, monster from front to back.
So before we get into the details of the specific products in each category, there are a couple key features that we should point out when it comes to the Mobile ES line. One of them is, availability. So Chris, if you could speak to a little bit about how that program works and how dealers need to qualify to even become a Mobile ES dealer.
Yeah, Ben. So it does take kind of a little bit more qualification for Mobile ES than it does our core line products under Sony. So that'll be handled by your distributor in your area. They will help you determine if your sales, meet expectations, if you are equipped to install our products properly, and that you'll be able to kind of commit to the line as part of that kind of commitment. So I think one of the most important things to understand is this. I don't think it's a neon sign out in front of your building that's going to draw more people in just because you have Sony Mobile ES. I think it's probably going to cut into the sales of some of your other amplifier speaker subcategories, right? So you should be able to identify maybe some weak spots in those categories to help Mobile ES supplement or replace. And that's probably the best move for you and your distributor. And then just talk with your disty. They'll kind of help you understand your market, what your potential is there, and all that good stuff. And then you go from there. But it is exclusive. There may be more than one dealer in a particular area. We don't limit. Sony doesn't have a limit on how many can be in one certain area. You and your distributor will kind of work through those details in your particular market. But yeah, it is not available for everybody, for sure.
When it comes to audiophile grade gear, there is a little je ne sais quoi when it comes to that little bit more exclusive offering that not every shop on the corner may have this available, which I feel adds value to the transaction when presenting to a customer. Now, if talking about adding value, here's another interesting fact. When it comes to the warranty side of things, not only is it an elevated standard in the gear, there's an elevated warranty as well.
This is probably one of the most kind of underrated things that exists about some of our products, and that is our 3-year warranty. No questions asked warranty. It's handled directly with your distributor, so it's often a very easy swap for your products. Some distributors offer a field destroy program, especially for speakers and subs. So there's a lot of advantage for being a Mobile ES retailer and having kind of that confidence that Sony's got your back for a 3-year period on that product. It is a consumer warranty. It doesn't start when the retailer buys the product. It starts when the consumer buys the product. So it is a 3-year consumer warranty. And that consumer should have that same confidence that you do in that product with that 3-year warranty. They feel that the money they're putting into this product, this investment they're making into their vehicle, and the money they're giving you gives them peace of mind when they have a good quality product with the Sony name on it, of course, and that 3-year warranty to back it up. It means something tangible to the consumer.
All right, let's get into some product. And I got to warn you, this is a full range of product. So we're not just talking about one category here, guys. So buckle up. Here we go. Let's start with the Source unit. I mean, this is a category which Sony has absolutely performed incredibly well in. We've spent a lot of time on CMA talking about this very celebrated 9500 ES model. It's, you know, what is there to say? It's become quite the standard when it comes to the build of many high-end audio systems. But more recently, a little brother version of that has been introduced. I do want Chris to spend some time talking about the advantages of that model and maybe, you know, the reasons behind introducing a smaller brother.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about the XAV-9000ES, which is the quote-unquote little brother of the 9500ES. I wouldn't say little brother, though. It's almost like it's little twin, right? So it's got all of the same great features that the 9500ES does. So the wireless CarPlay, the wireless and wired Android Auto, Audiolink Maestro full support, all that good stuff, right? The 5-volt pre-outs, the dedicated ESS 90, 80Q, 32-bit DAC, everything that you've come to expect out of that 9500ES. We were able to kind of compact that down, and now it's in our what is essentially our AX4000 chassis. So it's that shallow mount singled in on top, so it's bare on the bottom. So you still have a lot of places to kind of tuck those Audiolink Maestro connections behind the radio. You're able to get that 7-inch screen into any dash kit, which will of course apply to more vehicles out there. This is especially helpful for our brand because everybody wants that 9500 kind of awe and experience, right, in their dashboard. Not every dashboard can accommodate that giant 10.1-inch floating screen in their dash, right? So vents are blocked, buttons are blocked in some cases. Some of that's hazardous to driving experiences. So we don't want that to affect the ability for somebody to get great sound in their vehicle. So that was the whole genesis behind creating that smaller 7-inch version.
We're not going to spend too much more time on the Source units because, like we said, go check back in our CMA Networks library. We've covered the 9500 ES model, you know, extensively. So go check that out. What we do want to talk about is the amazing amplifier selection that Mobile ES also offers. So this is a wide range, and there's some key technologies here that really make them stand out, because don't think for a second that these amplifiers don't pack a punch. So let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the clean power that these amplifiers provide, Chris.
More power, man. So listen, you don't put amplifiers in a vehicle to kind of like almost get a little bit of a volume upgrade, right? So more power means better speaker control, means more volume out of the system. And so we wanted to make sure that if you were attracted to the Mobile ES lineup because of its high fidelity sound, the highest quality components, the design, the installation of it, all that good stuff, that you weren't disappointed when it came to the power output, right? So we've had a lot of really good sounding amplifiers in the past that were probably fair to average on power output, but these things are next level, right? So they are the elevated standard. That 1ES, of course, 600 watts at 4 ohm, and these are all CTA ratings. 1,000 watts at 2 ohms, so you've got quite a powerful little monoblock amp there. And then the 4ES is pretty awesome. It's 100 watts by 4 at 4 ohm, 165 watts by 4 at 2 ohm, and then you can bridge each pair of those channels down to 330 watts at 4 ohm. So, and then we have our multi-channel amps as well, which have that same power output as the 4-channel, but with the 6 or 8-channel variations of it as well.
So, Chris, it sounds like the engineers have certainly come up with a wide variety of options when it comes to these amplifiers. Can you quickly walk us through the offering from beginning to end as far as the amplifiers are concerned?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is great. This is the part I love, right? So talking about good product and talking about the application of it, right? So our monoblock amp was our XM1ES, very simple naming convention. The number in the amplifier name tells you how many channels it has, right? So the 1ES, of course, has that 600 watt at 4 ohm output, 1,000 watts at 2 ohm. All of our ratings are CTA rated, so you're absolutely going to get that power output of that amplifier. It's not like on a good day going downhill with lightning striking it, right? So these are legitimate power specs that we're giving for you. The 4ES is the next one up, and that is our 4-channel amplifier. That is 4 channels, 100 watts by 4 at 4 ohm, 165 watts by 4 at 2 ohm. And then you can bridge both of those sets of channels down to 330 watts by 2 at 4 ohm. Moving up one class is the 5-channel amp. So that combines our 4ES output, so the same power there on those 4 channels, and then it adds about 75% of our 1ES. So that 5ES has on the subwoofer output side 450 watts at 4 ohm, 750 watts output at 2 ohm. So one of the most powerful 5-channel amps on the market to date, of course. And the 6-channel and the 8-channel, this is pretty awesome. So the 6-channel brings you 6 channels with the same power output that the 4-channel had. And the 8-channel brings you 8 channels of that. So 100 by 6 or by 8, 165 by 6 or 8 at 2 ohm. And then you can bridge every set of channels down, each pair of channels down to 330 watts at 4 ohm. So quite a good family of amplifiers there. Of course, every amp has our input selection, so you can kind of pick and choose the inputs that you're giving the amplifier and how it's going to play through the different channels. We also have a throughput and an output designator on every amplifier, so you can kind of choose how that signal is being handled and passing through the amp to maybe a daisy chained amp downline from it. And of course, all of them are super easy to set up and install.
I think it's clear here, Chris, that Sony did not skimp out when it came to power output on these amplifiers. And the fact that there's such a great selection gives installers and salespeople, the flexibility to really customize and build that design based on the situation. But there's more to the story when it comes to product. Mobile ES, it's in the details. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits and features built into these products and these amplifiers, that is, for the installer to keep in mind.
Yeah, Ben, I'm a details guy, so the details matter to me, and I'm also a tech, right? So me and the guys on our team here, we install our products all the time, and we really appreciate some of the things that we have built into those products themselves. So everything from the connection methods on the amplifiers, one single size hex key or Allen key can control every screw on the entire amp. So that's the trim panels, the power lugs, the speaker connections. It's one single size wrench that handles everything, and it's included in the box, so you're not hunting around for something. It's super easy to set up. The filters, you've got low pass, high pass, and band pass on our multi-channel amps for every set of channels. You've got the filter, the input, the output controls are all laid out exactly the same on every single amplifier that we make. So there's consistency across the model lineup. You're not looking for controls in one section on one amp and then having to flip something around or get to a different area on another amp, which makes setup and installation easy, but it also makes your eventual install. Maybe you've got a couple amps set up somewhere. Yeah, you can easily kind of put those into that spot in a consistent manner rather than having to flip something or turn something upside down to be able to access controls for serviceability down the road. So just a lot of thoughtful design in those small little details that you really don't even notice until you're putting one in, and you'll suddenly come to appreciate kind of the effort that went into that.
And finally, Chris, let's circle back to actually, like you mentioned, the first product that was released in this Mobile ES collection, and that was the speakers. Now, if you've had the chance to audition these speakers, then you know they have a very distinct signature sound, and they have a very distinct signature look and feel to them as well. So, Chris, in your words, the success that you've had with these speakers, what can you communicate as far as the performance and what dealers and, end listeners can expect from this speaker lineup from Mobile ES?
Yeah, Ben. So I think one word kind of sums up what both a customer and a retailer can expect out of these speakers, and that's beautiful. They look beautiful, of course. If you've got these on a display board or you've got one on your counter to show a customer, just picking the speaker up and looking at it, it's beautiful from every angle. The front is very classy looking. It's got the ES yellow trim on it for sure, so it kind of sticks out just a little bit, but it's tasteful. It's not garish by any means. Flip the speaker over and you can see the structural, components on the back. You can see that vented airflow design, keeping that speaker cool at all times. There's just a lot of really kind of cool design that goes into it. But beautiful also describes the sound you're going to get out of it, right? So these are high-res certified, so they can play up to 40 kilohertz. So you'll be able to take advantage of anything that your source unit or your amplifiers can provide to it. And on top of that, they've got an aluminum shorting ring inside. So that kind of keeps your vocals and some of those higher end frequencies crystal clear through playback. That vented design keeps the motor structure cool during playback, and heat can kind of be the enemy of sound at times where it gets things out of spec a little bit. That doesn't happen with our speakers, so they're kept cool every time they're playing, which is pretty awesome. So all that thoughtful design ends up in a beautiful experience, both from an installation and sales perspective to the end result with the sound output.
And quickly, Chris, if you wouldn't mind just walking us through the offering when it comes to different shapes and sizes of the speakers and subwoofers for that matter.
Yeah, Ben. So this kind of harkens back to the installability of our products, right? So we wanted to make sure that it was easy for our technicians out there in the field to be able to put our products in to get the end result they wanted, right? So we've got a lot of flexibility with our speakers. Our 160 ES is our coax speaker. Very, it's not shallow mount by any means, but it's certainly a shallower version of a 6.5-inch speaker. Very low protrusion on all of our ES speakers, so they won't hit the door panel or anything that's going in front of that speaker. So you've got a lot of flexibility on the install side there. And then our 160 ES, our 162 ES, which is our two-way component, and our 163 ES, which is our three-way component, they all have exactly the same specs. So sensitivity, power handling, all that good stuff is exactly the same throughout all three of those models. And the reason we do that is we want the sales staff, when you're setting up that system for that consumer, to be able to select the components, kind of the set that matches what the car needs versus having to match a speaker almost incorrectly and having to make adapters or brackets to make something fit that really shouldn't be there just to match the specs, right? So the specs are matched for you. All you've got to do is kind of pick the shape and application for the speaker to go in the vehicle, and you're good to go. And then you back that up with, of course, our subwoofer lineup. The subs have great output, and they're designed for both ported and sealed enclosures. So there's not one specific model for either one. They sound great in both, as long as you're designing them to spec. So they're awesome subs, of course. There is a kind of a neat little trick. If you call our tech line, that 855 Sony 12V, you can certainly get some help with this. But there's a way to make those a little bit more shallow for some of those truck boxes and behind seat boxes that you might be installing those in. But just a great punch from our speakers. The output of them is great. The subwoofers, of course, back everything up with that low end frequency reproduction. I think this is a win-win for everybody.
Well, there it is, Chris. We've kind of taken our listeners through the voyage of the Mobile ES story from Sony, the background, the development, some of the unique characteristics and benefits, and then, of course, a quick walkthrough of the entire line as far as categories concerned. So what final message do you have for dealers who may be interested in taking on the Mobile ES line, discovering it for themselves, and making it a solid offering for their higher end customer that demands more?
Yeah, Ben. So I've got probably two messages, actually. One is, if you are not yet, kind of aware of how to get involved with Mobile ES, then contact your local distributor. They can certainly help out with getting you up to speed, what your potential for that area is, of course, and all that good stuff. So we're distribution only on all of our products. So your distributor is your first line of contact for that. So reach out to them, certainly review CMA Networks for some previous episodes where we've talked about the other products, if you want a little bit more information before contacting them. But your distributor certainly is your first point of contact for more information about these products. Second is, if you are already a Mobile ES retailer and maybe you haven't found a ton of success with it, or maybe you don't feel like you're using it to its potential. Maybe you've heard me talk about some features or functions that maybe you hadn't realized the product has, then you should try to tune into one of my trainings. I do them both online and in person. So contact your distributor and they may have a training that's coming up, you know, in your particular area. Or you can contact me or any of our tech team at our 855 Sony 12V number, our support line, and they can let you know when the next training might be available in your particular area. We're always happy to help. We can answer any questions that you have, and we're ready for you guys to start rocking with Mobile ES.
I want to take this opportunity to thank our guest today, KRIS Bullha, for coming in and giving us a clinic on all things Sony Mobile ES. Now, if you're interested in more information on any of the products that we covered on today's show, we're going to put the link on the screen right now. And yes, it is a big website. It's Sony, of course. But go ahead and dig into the car audio section. You'll see all the information that you need when it comes to Mobile ES products. Now, if you happen to be a dealer tuning in from Canada, then you need to know their official distribution partner north of the border is, of course, Gentech International. Make sure you get a hold of the team at Gentech should you decide you might be interested in becoming a Sony dealer or, in fact, a Sony Mobile ES dealer. Now, in my closing comments, I am nothing but impressed ever since the launch of this line. The ES has been a moniker with Sony for many years, and to see that a team behind Sony was able to engineer and come up with this product for our car audio market is a blessing. The detail, the passion, everything about this lineup literally reeks of people who know what they're doing and install this equipment. The features that are coming in from a car source unit brand, yeah, okay, hold on a second. Phase plugs in the speakers, crazy power output and configuration options when it comes to the amplifiers, a remarkable user experience when it comes to their 9500ES and now their 9000, smaller sibling. All of this means an incredible package that any dealer should be proud to present to a discerning customer walking into their store looking for an elevated experience. Sony Mobile ES delivers that experience in spades with a complete catalog, as mentioned on today's show. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, that has a recognized brand name, and can offer your customers an elevated experience as well as a 3-year warranty, I think you found it. That's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM with over 150 channels in your vehicle. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video on Demand. What you love is on now.